There has been this phenomenon where great games get published, but they constantly get overshadowed by their competitors or just get straight up forgotten. When United Front Games released Sleeping Dogs in August of 2012, GTA, Assassin's Creed, and a lot of parkour games have been dominating the gaming scenery. And they saw this as an opportunity to create a very unique open world video game that would accommodate all of these features: parkour, fighting, shooting, all of that set in Hong Kong, having very similar features to the Grand Theft Auto series, but in a very different and creative way. When the game debuted in 2012, it racked around 1 million sales in its first 2 months, and from there, the game pretty much went radio silent. Due to the game being vastly outnumbered in sales by other open world video games, there really just wasn't a huge demand for a sequel since it was a brand new IP, and this is kind of what has led to Sleeping Dogs being overlooked after years and years. When most people hear about the game, they often just think that it's another budget GTA clone and move on, which I'm here to break down. So with this video, everyone, we're going to be heading back to 2012 and are going to be going over all of the bases for why Sleeping Dogs is not at all a GTA clone, and how the game offers and does better things than GTA, and why you should give it a playthrough since it's a freaking awesome game that has gotten completely overlooked and overshadowed. Sleeping Dogs, or True Crime Hong Kong, is a crime-based open-world video game set in the city of Hong Kong, China, in which it has you take the role of Wei Shen, a former US police officer from San Francisco that was transferred back to Hong Kong to infiltrate and destroy the Sunani Triad organization gang. The game has around 30 storyline missions, and they all have you working for the Hong Kong police force to sneakily get information and evidence from the organization to destroy it. Now, originally, when Sleeping Dogs was in its development stages, it was actually meant to be a part of the True Crime series. You know, that series that you guys keep telling me to cover? Yeah, that one, when it was announced in 2009. But after several development hurdles and cancellations that the game went through for nearly 3 years from Activision, it was published as its own IP in 2012 by Square Enix on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Now, in the actual game, there are clear similarities between GTA in terms of it being an open world video game for you to explore around in, beating the crap out of people, jacking people's cars, and being in police chases, but outside of that, that's pretty much where the similarities end. Instead of always using guns and missions all the time, Sleeping Dogs' core bread and butter is combat, and not just the stellar punching mechanic. This game makes the use of martial art moves. There are shootouts from time to time, but in missions and just in free roam, you will always be finding yourself scrapping with people. This is one of the many things that sets it apart from other open world titles like GTA, which often rely more heavily on gunplay, which is not inherently a bad thing, because that's just what GTA is about, but it's something to take into account for. This game is obviously very similar to games like Assassin's Creed, Yakuza, Batman Arkham Asylum, True Crime New York, a little bit of Grand Theft Auto, and hell, even similar to Tekken in terms of combat. And they nailed at implementing all these features from all these different games all into one. It has very enjoyable and satisfying combat mechanics, alright driving, a decent map that isn't too big and not too small, engaging side missions, a very compelling story, and the controls of the game aren't janky at all. And kind of like Saints Row 2, this game has a really good balance between serious and entertaining gameplay when it comes to the story of it. There's so many games out there that have amazing ideas and concepts, but completely fail at executing them. Games like No Man's Sky. Traveling and exploring space does sound very interesting on paper, but they fail to put their own spin on it, and instead just use the same generic elements from other games that have already been done a plethora of times. Or Watch Dogs Legion. Sleeping Dogs didn't just directly copy the same stuff from GTA or any other open world game. It has its own unique element to it that make it stand out from its competitors, completely giving it its own identity. But unfortunately, we live in a day and age where any open world video game that goes by the formula being a sandbox game that has driving, missions, involves committing crimes is going to be called a GTA clone. Name a crime simulator game and it's probably been labeled as a GTA clone. It's fucking stupid. And due to this, Sleeping Dogs didn't truly get the attention that it deserved at the time, because so many people out there just assumed that it was a GTA clone and didn't even bother to check it out. And because since it was a brand new IP, no one really heard about it, and the game only sold around 1.7 million copies, which is absolutely minuscule to GTA, which really does suck, and I can only imagine how painful it must feel as a developer, putting in so much time, effort, and soul into a game that is genuinely amazing, only for a game to not even get noticed and or be called a clone. And I didn't even hear about this game until like a year ago, when I began seeing an influx of people covering it and giving it the notoriety that it deserves, which which made me want to check out the game. And this isn't even just about sleeping dogs. Hold up. The term GTA clone gets tossed out there so loosely that it makes no fucking sense, and destroys games that are actually good. Look at the Saints Row series. Saints Row 1 and 2 are by far the best in the entire franchise, but so many people out there, which I think are primarily 13-year-old kids that just discovered that there are other open world games besides GTA, just label them as GTA copycats, and Volition didn't like having that name under them, and that resulted in them trying to add wacky over-the-top shit to distance themselves from GTA, which in hindsight just did more harm than good, and was just a radical departure and ruined the entire series. But that's for another video. But let's begin to discuss the meat of this game, Sleeping Dogs' gameplay and mission structure. Like I briefly just mentioned, Sleeping Dogs' core gameplay revolved around its combat and parkour mechanics, as in the very first mission of the game immediately throws you right into the action right away, having you parkour and getting accustomed to everything very quickly, which is very similar to what GTA 5 did, where it immediately threw into a bank heist right away. And with fighting being the main thing this game is known for, all throughout the map of the game you can participate in fun minigames where you can take martial art classes, which will allow you to unlock new combo moves that you can use as you progress through the game. The game has 11 moves that you can upgrade to, and unlocking these moves will allow you to use them in missions to defeat powerful boss enemies you come across. And I love how this game puts variety into its combat. We're never just doing the same shit over and over and over and over. So many games like GTA all have the same type of fighting mechanic, with it just being kicking or punching someone. We can always hit new different melee combos that keep the gameplay fresh for the player. And as for the actual map of the game, the way Hong Kong is designed in this game is close to perfection. The attention to detail of getting the player sucked into the immersion when it comes to the city being full of neon colors, packed tight with cars, NPCs, missions, so much hustle and bustle, is pretty much exactly how I would have imagined Hong Kong to be like in real life. The map is split up into 4 different districts that all have their own vibe to it. North Point being where we started in the beginning of the game, Central, which is the main city where all the skyscrapers are located at, Kennedy Town, and Aberdeen. I think that's how you say it. And after we complete more and more missions throughout the game, we will unlock brand new apartments or safe houses in all these districts, starting out in North Point with the cheap, dirty, rundown apartment building to super clean, wealthy safe house suites, where in them you can change your outfits, sleep, and that's really about it. There's not much you can do in your apartments, which kind of sucks because they're really good damn looking. I mean, we can't even watch TV. Like, what the hell? It's not like we can't explore any of these places early on in the game. Sleepy Dogs doesn't limit us to just 1 second of the map, like how most open world games do to make it feel bigger. Everything is unlocked to us right from the beginning, and we can explore it whenever we want to. Now, in the beginning of your playthrough, you are going to be a little limited to the amount of activity you can start, so it doesn't overwhelm a new player with a bunch of content, but as you get through a little bit of the tutorial missions, you can begin to go through the main storyline missions faster, and or expand into the police missions that the game has, since after all, you are playing as an undercover cop. Storyline missions being color-coded in green, and police work being in blue. With police missions, you can either do drug bust missions, investigation work, or cop jobs, which I will not lie to you, the drug bust missions are very tedious. Don't get me wrong, they were interesting for about the first 3 times, but after that I realized that they were just the exact same, copied and pasted across the entire map. It's just you arriving at the mission, beating up some folks, hacking into a camera, driving back to your apartments, and arresting the drug supplier through the surveillance footage. And like that, the mission's complete. Which sounds cool, but doing that 17 times is not really all that amazing. I just grinded through them so I could 100% the game. And after doing the same shit over and over 17 different times, I don't think I have any more willpower to do it again. It isn't something that ruined the gameplay experience for me, but it was very monotonous. But other than that really, the missions and Sleeping Dogs all find a way to be very similar to each other, but feel super excited and different at the same time. Typically in open world crime games, a lot of them compress the same generic mission layout with no real variety in them. I don't really know how to explain it, but in Sleeping Dogs, the fighting makes everything feel super entertaining, and I feel like since you don't use guns all the time in missions and just in free roam, the times when you do finally use them, it feels very exciting. But of course, with every video game that I review on my channel, there will never be a perfect game, unfortunately. And Sleeping Dogs is far from perfect. For example, like what I briefly touched on some of the side content like drug busts that can feel very repetitive the more you keep doing them. They feel like side content that they threw in so you can check them off as you move on, which feels eerily similar to Ubisoft side missions. The shooting in this game is also slightly underdeveloped. It is nice to use weapons in this game since it is the fastest way to kill enemies, but because this game is all about combat and we don't use guns for the first few hours of the campaign, when we do finally get to acquire and use them, there's not really anything crazy we can do with them. Or should I say, the gunplay in this game is very basic. All of the shootouts in this game are always the same duck, cover, shoot, repeat. There's no crazy drive-by shootings, no use of helicopters, RPGs, none of that. Alright, maybe not RPGs because this game isn't fucking Saints Row the Third, but you know what I mean. The game does have its own bullet time system, where if you're taking cover and jump over a barrier, the game will slow time down and give you enough time to shoot at enemies, which is very similar to Red Dead Redemption's Deadeye system, which I won't lie, does feel pretty dope feeling like you're John Wick jumping over shit and firing your gun at people. But other than that, there's not really anything crazy about shooting in this game. I mean, you can't actually buy or own any weapons with you, which is a really big letdown. But I will say though, I do find the driving in this game very interesting. It has a great mix of arcadey and semi-realism. When you're driving really fast, it feels very similar to Need for Speed and Gran Turismo. If you're in a police chase, you can hold shift on the keyboard and ram into them, which will kill the cops. I know a lot of people dislike the driving, but whatever reason you give me, I'm just gonna call you a straight retard. Sleeping Dogs is not a driving game. It just has decent driving that gets the job done. It's a clear brawler game that is centered around fighting and parkour, so more time was put into those elements than driving. The driving in this game is only meant for you to get from point A to point B, with a bit of street racing that the game throws into, where you can find some pretty interesting mechanics like drifting. But other than that, there's not really anything special about the driving. Now, one more thing I want to mention before I move on to the writing is how this game doesn't punish the player for having fun and committing crimes in the city. The biggest problem that I have with games like GTA is that the cops are on you all the time for killing anyone. When I'm playing a game, I want to be able to do stuff like run NPCs over, shoot NPCs, beat the crap out of people, rob stores, just cause havoc in the city because it's fun to do. I want to be able to shoot someone in broad daylight without having to deal with cops chasing me. Is it sociopathic? Probably. In GTA, specifically GTA 5, every single time I do any of these things, 5 seconds later I'm getting a wanted level, which is so annoying. In Sleepy Dogs, the cops are pure ass. Like, unbelievably bad that I see why the crime in Hong Kong is so high because the cops are shit in this game. But what I'm getting at is that you can pretty much do whatever you want in the city without having to deal with them. You can shoot people in broad daylight, murder people anywhere, rob anyone, just do whatever you want. I know Red Dead Redemption 2 is guilty of having this sensitive wanted system, but Red Dead 2 pushes for extreme realism, so it gets a pass. But now, probably the most important part of a game is its writing. People have criticized Sleeping Dogs to death for having mediocre writing and storytelling, as many feel like it was rushed and didn't have much thought put into it, which I'm here to go over. Just note, I'm not going to be going over mission by mission and retelling the entire plot because I just hate redoing that all the time. I'm more so going to be going over how bad or how good the writing is, and touching on the story a little bit as we go. So the game opens up with Wei Shen and his friend Naz at a Drago site that goes to shit after the police watch us kill a security guard on camera, which results in them rushing to try and arrest us. Wei and Naz manage to escape and begin to run off, leading to the player experiencing the game's parkour tutorial for the first time. We end up winding up in jail after the police arrest us, and while we're waiting to be released from jail, Wei meets his old-time childhood friend Jackie Ma, where Jackie catches Wei up on his life and tells him what he's doing, and tells him to hit him up after he gets released from prison, so he can introduce him to a gang that he's a part of. Shortly later, when Wei is in an interrogation room, we find out that he is an undercover police officer who was arrested so he could go on ahead and infiltrate the Sun On Yi gang by getting in contact with Jackie and being able to meet Winston, the leader of the Water Street gang. And from here, we go undercover and begin to start meeting different members of the Water Street gang, but it comes with a big price. Throughout the entire game, Wei is constantly under suspicion for being a cop and is entrusted to by the gang, which quite literally ends up in him having his balls up on the chopping block 24/7.
Who the fuck do you think you are, huh? You come in out of nowhere and suddenly our guys start to get arrested? He ratted out pop star Winston. I know he did!
We then get introduced to Dog Eyes, the leader of the Sun On Yi gang.
And I was the first guy who ever stabbed you. You remember me now?
Whoa, wait, what the fuck, man? Seriously, Wei? I apologize. I'm really sorry. Your sister blew me.
One funny guy. Dog Eyes in Sleepy Dog is a decently well written and developed antagonist. He's written in a way to basically make you despise him and think he's some annoying piece of shit who constantly runs his mouth all the time, since he doesn't hesitate to make fun of Wei's dead sister. I know a lot of people hate his guts, but me personally, I just find him funny. I wish he had more screen time because him making fun of Wei and how he fucked his sister every 5 minutes is funny as shit. I mean, literally every single time Dog Eyes is in a cutscene, he's always jabbing at someone how he gets more play than them.
This is about me balling your fucking sister, isn't it? Huh?
But nonetheless, this game does a pretty good job at developing Wei Shen as well. In the beginning of the game, he starts out as his low-level undercover cop gangster with no real sort of income to a fully fleshed out millionaire living in multiple safe house suites in Hong Kong. This evolution adds depth to the protagonist and engages players in his journey and makes it feel like you're connected with him. The writing truly has a heart of gold to it. Each character we are introduced to all have their own background and don't just feel like random side characters that they threw in because they need the protagonist to meet new people. They all have their own personality and traits to them that will either either make us love or hate them. It gets us attached to several characters that when they get killed off in the game, it feels like a super big loss for us, showcasing the game's ability to create genuine connections between the characters and players. For example, when Wei finds out that his best friend Jackie, his childhood friend, is murdered in an alleyway, it's a very weird feeling for us. Or when Winston is killed at his wedding reception by Dog Eyes' gang, it's one of the more depressing cutscenes in the entire game because you start to like him more and more and more throughout the game.
Out of here. Jeep. She doesn't deserve this.
Winston's mother, Mrs. Chu, is made out to be this crazy, deranged, ruthless woman that won't hesitate to stab a bitch who disrespects her or her son. So many times throughout the game, Wei will bring in someone who disrespected her people, and she will stab them to death.
I don't know what you're talking about, you crazy old bitch! Please!
Wait.
Yeah, I know, crazy bitch. You know, they should have just nicknamed her Chu Bitch, because you know, Chu in Japanese means you bitch. I think I'll just take the script to my joke. If I were to sum up my opinion on Sleepy Dogs' narrative and writing, I would say it's great, but could have been greater. This is due to the game being very short and only having 30 storyline missions, and lagging and going more in depth into some of the characters that we're introduced to. The game presents a bunch of ideas, but never fully explores any of them, which would have been nicer if the game was longer. But whatever I have or you have to say about this game, as a whole, Sleepy Dogs is the definition of an underrated gem or a jack of all trades. I think the main reason for why this game got overlooked so much was due to the time it was released. 2012 was when GTA 5 was the main game people were talking about, and not even just GTA 5. So many other games from way bigger AAA studios were releasing so many big games that year, and United Front Games were a brand new, smaller, obscure studio that only had a few years under their belt. So when Sleeping Dogs dropped, quite frankly, no one really heard about it. If it was released a few years after GTA 5 and had better marketing, then it could have possibly performed much better than it did, and could have sold more units. This game does so many more better things than GTA, if I'm being honest, when it comes to combat, upgrades, gameplay, the map, the open world environment. Not saying 5 doesn't have a good open world, because it definitely does, but I feel like a game set in a city like Hong Kong with so much color, detail, stuff to do, it gives it that bit of more life. If we look at GTA 5's map, about 20% of the map is city and the other 80% is just nothing. They were able to make the map in Sleepy Dogs small, but put an unbelievable amount of detail in it. Bigger doesn't always mean better. Wink, wink. The game obviously doesn't completely reinvent the wheel, but that's totally okay. If a game can take certain aspects from other things that other games succeeded on, but make them more superior and enjoyable for the player, then that will make your game good. Not every game has to define a new aspect in gaming for it to be good. Sleep Dogs can 100% be up there with games like GTA 5. I can't 100% say that it's better than 5 because I love both games to death, but it shows you that GTA is not the end-all be-all when it comes to open world games. Just stop calling these games GTA mere wannabes and you have my word. But with that being said, everyone, thank you all for watching to the end of this video. I have a few games that I would really like to cover. My next video is probably going to be me covering GTA 4's DLC, The Ballad of Gay Tony, or Saints Row the Third, which I've already begun playing, so can't wait to dive into that. But thanks for watching to the end of this video once again. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. See ya.